speaking of delivering, let's take a look at a couple stocks that are on my radar, but we've got Scott Bauer joining us, and he always delivers here on Midday Movers. Let's bring him in because he's the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy, and he was kind enough to join us here this afternoon on a Thursday. Scott, welcome to the show. You're here to preview, or help us preview, I should say, a couple of names that are set to report today after the bell. Scott, let's dive into Dell. It's up over 2% ahead of their quarterly report today on the close. All right, let's dive into Dell here and take a look at the chart. Scott's mic, we're having a little bit of an issue. We're going to get that back up in just a second here. We've got Dell up on the one-day, one-year chart here. You can see that they've been coming under pressure basically since the highs that we saw after the beginning of May there into June. And I want you to take a look here, traders, also at the intraday time frame, because we came off a recent low this week of 44.35. You can see again, though, last week they were all the way up at that $50 level. We have seen some nice intraday swings here, it looks like, in terms of Dell, but we got that mic set back up here with Scott Bauer, again, the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy. Scott, I was talking about the move that we've seen in Dell, a nice 2% move up off of some lows from yesterday around 44.35. What are you going to be looking for today on the close from quarterly results?
Yeah, you look at this chart here, Ben, and it actually looks pretty dismal in my opinion. There's lower lows, lower highs. Market maker expected move today on earnings is about $4.50. If we get that move to the downside, it does take you down to a level where there's some pretty decent support around 42 or so. So, a little bit of optimism going into earnings today, but I'm not expecting a lot here. I'm really not.
Scott, I imagine this is a company that deals with, and some of those intraday swings that I was just commenting on, wide range intraday swings, have been a direct result of some of the on-again, off-again trade rhetoric. We just heard about how it's more off again right now, at least, than it has been in the past in terms of some of those recent comments. But we also have some of the estimates there. It looks like EPS are looking for $1.46 a share on revenue of $23.11 billion. I'm looking at the move lower that we've been seeing, and I'm wondering, if we were to get some favorable, some real positive, and I know I lean on this a lot in terms of some of these stocks that have been under pressure, but if we were to get trade to turn around at this point, I wonder if we'd see that happen here in ticker symbol DELL as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that the most important thing, like we've seen with many stocks coming out reporting earnings, is not really the numbers they report, but what is their guidance going to be going forward?
Right.
How cautious are they going to be? Are they building in a drop because of, the continued trade war? That to me is obviously going to be most important. If they don't guide higher, regardless what these numbers are, this stock's going down.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on guidance here. We're also going to be keeping an eye on Workday. Scott, ticker symbol WDAY. I know that you're going to be watching them. You mentioned here this is a stock that you'd like to preview. Talk to us about what you're expecting here. Currently trading up on the day by about 1.5%.
Yeah, it looks really good, actually. It's been hovering right at this 200-day moving average. It actually just broke it on the downside just a tad, but if you look at this chart and the 200-day moving average, this thing has been as good of support as you could ever find in a stock, and it's trading right there. So it's hard from a technical standpoint not to like the upside going into earnings here, Ben, but you just have to be cautious because, again, what sort of guidance are they going to give? So when I look at this stock right here, I'm optimistically or cautiously optimistic, I should say. I do like an upside, but I don't want to be overexposed. Let's put it that way.
Noted. Workday, ticker symbol WDAY, is expecting earnings, EPS that is, of 35 cents a share. And Scott, I'm noticing here that they've been in a bit of a range, roughly 200 down to the 180 area. This has been a range that they've been stuck in for most of the month of August. Looks like all of the month of August after they came off that high of 226. Potential to see a breakout here today?
Yeah, again, it's really consolidated, like you just said, right around that 200-day moving average where we're trading. So my expectation is that we are going to see a bigger than expected move. Now, the market maker expected moves about $12 in this stock. I think we're going to get a bigger move because of that consolidation that we've seen.
All right, certainly hanging out near the lower extreme of that range, and I always say by definition they call them extremes because they don't stay there for very long, or price doesn't. Scott, let's move on to another an ETF that I know that you closely watch. It looks like you got your eye on ticker symbol SPY. That's the the S&P 500 ETF. Let's take a look here. Currently trading up on the day by 1 1/3, range bound as well, much like what we were just talking about in terms of workday.
Very range bound, but very, very tradable over the last, 2, 4, 6 weeks based on the moves that we've seen off of tweets and off of trade rhetoric. And we're coming up to this point again. I know I'm talking very technical today, but if you look at this 294 area in SPY, major resistance, 50-day moving average. We've hit there 3, 4, I think 5 times maybe, and just, really just tanked from there. So what I'm looking is that same type of situation right now. I'm buying some SPY put spreads, because they're a lot cheaper right now than they were even earlier this week because vol has gotten hit a little bit, but also there's just such massive resistance. And as we know, all it takes is one click of the phone or a tweet here, and we can see S&P's off 2-3%. Also, we could see them up 2-3% here. So again, that's why I'm going by a very, very, very strong technical indicator, which shows me here some very large resistance.
All right, sounds like we're coming up against some resistance. We just mentioned the lower extreme in terms of workday and upper extreme in terms of the SPY. It sounds like you're expecting a big move. We'll keep an eye on those. Scott, really appreciate you joining us here for a discussion here in terms of a couple good stocks to keep an eye on, in this case an ETF as well. Traders at Scott Bauer, the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy, bringing it here on a Thursday. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back,